We definitely have people with good attitudes. For whatever reason, we've been very blessed in the fact that the people that are hired at this bank are kind of expected to be nice to each other. And we have a lot of customers that walk in and just say that they came in and they loved the fact that they could tell that we truly were happy.
For rising, it's my pleasure to introduce Pastor Kevin Decker of the Post Street United Methodist Church to give our invocation. Pastor.
Prayer. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this day that you've made. We thank you for our community. In many ways, the people of Amarillo reach out to those in need, feeding the poor, lifting up the least of these, bringing comfort to the brokenhearted. Thank you for our elected leaders, especially those representing and leading our city government. We pray for your wisdom and insight to direct all those who are making decisions today. We thank you for your care and concern with every detail of our lives, both public and private. We pray for the city of Amarillo to be a haven of blessing and a place of peace for all who live here and for those who come through this way. We also pray for protection for our law enforcement officers as they seek to make Amarillo a safe place to live. Watch over each of us and help us to love one another, even as you have loved us through your Son, Jesus Christ. We pray this in his name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. You can join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held this Tuesday in City Hall on the third floor at 3 p.m. The first item of business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached are a copy of the minutes regarding the meeting from January 2nd. Are there any items that need to be updated or changed in those minutes? Not entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7386. This is a second final reading of an ordinance amending the Chapter 16-3 of Section 16-3, 2001, Schedule D, changing the maximum speed limit on North Coulter Street. The proposed change would extend the present 35-mile-an-hour speed limit starting at Tascosa Road to White Poplar North to Jersey Elm. The remaining segment of North Coulter Street from Jersey Elm north to Loop 335 will be 45 miles an hour. This is a second reading. Are there any questions from the audience regarding this ordinance? Any from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7386.
Second.
A motion and a second for ordinance number 7386. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7387. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance vacating the remaining portion of a 20-foot alley in Block 338, Holland Edition, in Section 156, Block 2, ABNM Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Southwest 3rd Avenue and South Arthur Street. This is second and final. Are there any questions from the audience about this item or from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7387, specifying that it's in the vicinity of Southeast 3rd Avenue.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7387. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Resolution for public hearing. This resolution conducts a public hearing on and considers orders for removal of substandard structures located at 3004 North Prospect Street. We began a new process, and I will begin that process again. We did this the last time we had structures. So I begin this, it's somewhat of a more formal hearing. It's an evidentiary hearing on nuisance property. So, we will now conduct a hearing to determine if certain properties constitute a nuisance by virtue of a dangerous structure or accumulation of weeds, trash, junk, and some combination of these. Pursuant to city ordinance, the mayor will make a determination as to any procedural or evidentiary questions. I will now call the case involving 304 North Prospect Street, Ruth A. Thompson's substandard structure and accumulation of junk and debris. All persons who may desire to speak and give evidence on this matter, please stand. Now, do you solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you are about to give on this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and now, as a building official, Mr. McDonald, we'd like you to present the case.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The property located at 304 North Prospect is a wood frame construction on the pier beam foundation. This residential structure and a wood frame structure with steel siding is a detached building. The conditions on this property are as follows. The structure has been abandoned for over 9 years and is open and unsecure. There have been 2 fires at this location, the first on August the 4th, 2003, and again on November 25th of 2011. There is severe structural damage. The windows are missing, broken. The plumbing and electrical mechanical systems were destroyed by fire. The property is littered with accumulations of junk and debris, both inside and out. The detached accessory structure remains unsecured against entry. There's been no attempt by the owner to repair or abate the hazards in many years. This property is not only a nuisance to the community, it presents multiple hazards for the neighbors. It creates an unsafe environment and is dangerous. Demolition is recommended. The beginning date for this file was April of 2012. At that time, we provided notification. Our initial notification of a dangerous structure was sent by certified mail to the following interested persons. Ruth A. Thompson, mailed on August 22nd of 2012. It was returned on September 13th of 2012. Audrey Fenwick, August 22nd, 2012, and it was delivered on August 27th of 2012. Again, to Audrey Fenwick at a different address, 121 North Lamar, August 22nd, 2012, and it was returned on September 5th of 2012. Carly J. Lewis, August 22nd, 2012, and it was delivered on August 28th of 2012. We had set a notice of public hearing sent certified to the estate of Ruth A. Thomason on December the 5th of 2012, which was returned on December 27th of 2012. Audrey Fenwick at 404 North Tennessee, December the 5th of 2012, and it was returned on December the 28th of 2012. Audrey Fenwick at 121 North Lamar, December the 5th of 2012, and it was delivered on December the 7th of 2012. Carly J. Lewis, December the 5th, 2012, returned December 28th of 2012. On December the 5th of 2012, we posted the property, notifying any concerned citizens or anyone that may have an interest in this property, a notice of condemnation hearing on a placard. Permit status on this property, there have been no applications for a provisional permit, no contact inquiring or attempting to renovate the structure. Building safety has had no recent activity. Current taxes on the property are $248.72 for 2012, and there are delinquent taxes in the amount of $9,435.50 for years 2001 through 2011. There's been no water service to this property since December 15th of 2003. Over the past 2 years, this property has been maintained by a city contractor. Most recently, September the 6th of 2012, mowing and trash removal. April 23rd, 2011, mowing, trash, and debris. February 24th, 2011, mowing, tree limbs, junk, and debris. There is currently $4,840.06 owed to the city against this property. This file is the business record that was created and maintained in the ordinary course of business in the Department of Building Safety. The contents were made by or at the direction of a person with personal knowledge thereof, at or about the time of the events or conditions reflected therein. The photographs in this file accurately portray what they represent. I tender this to you as evidence in the matter and for the purposes of this hearing. However, because this is an original and active file, I request to substitute the electronic version of this file. Such electronic copy is an exact duplicate of the original file that has been secured on the city's IT network under Hummingbird number 2027042.
Thank you. The original file is admitted to the record of this hearing, and substantiation of the electronic record is allowed for other purposes, for all other purposes, including appeals. Commissioners, you may now examine the original file and ask questions if you'd like. Any commissioners have any questions of Mr. McConnell?
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
not so much a question, but I guess a statement. The process that we're going through here to destroy, if you will, and I'm anticipating how the vote will probably go, would have taken a lot longer under the old process that we used to go through. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Because now, and I know it's going to vary depending on if people are opposed to it or fight it or ask for an extension or blah, blah, blah. But the process that we're going through right now, this property has taken how long?
This property started in the spring of 2012, so we're barely into 2013, so less than a year. In the past, it's been a year or longer on many, if not all, properties that we've submitted. We're trying to do earlier notifications of all interested persons. So on the front side of the model, we have all those notifications out there as early as we can, and seeing some success from that as well.
Well, and I think that here again, part of the purpose of this new process is that we encourage people who have to live in close proximity to trash like this, for them to speak up, to come forward, so to speak.
Yes,
So
sir.
we do have a way to kind of expedite, move these things along.
Yes, sir. To abate the hazards, absolutely.
Thank you.
And Scott, you talked about the letters that you sent. Some were undeliverable, but there were a couple that were delivered. Did you ever get a response from anybody?
No, we've had no notification from any concerned person.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, we will now hear from persons with a legal interest in the property who were sent notices of this hearing. If any such person now fails, refuses, or neglects to appear, they are deemed to have admitted liability for the defects and violation as stated in the initial notice. If there is an owner, an occupant, or a lien holder of this property present who wants to present pertinent information or to question the building official, if that person would stand, we will swear you in. Anyone here that would like to question this proceeding? Okay. Mr. McDonald, we thank you for your participation. Does the City Commission have any other questions for the building official? Okay. Now, is there a neighbor or anyone else who would desire to speak about this property? Anyone who would like to stand and speak about this property? Okay. Excuse me, sir, yes, if you'd like to come to the podium, and we have 3 minutes for comment. If you could give us your name and address, please.
My name is Byron Miles. I live at 611 Carnegie Place. I am owner of an apartment that's adjacent to this property.
Yes, sir.
My concern is, how can the city streamline the process that it takes to condemn a property and
Well, we have
demolish
done
it?
that. The state allowed for rules. They made some changes to the rules recently, and we enacted everything that we could to speed that up. Past periods, it was that we would condemn a property, it would take a year to a year and a half, and then they could delay it in many ways, and it could take 3 years. And by that time, city officials, people are running around chasing their tail to a degree, not doing any good with what the purpose of the neighborhood is to clean up the property. So we changed that, and now I think the date time range is 58 days to 120 days after we start the official process, where it used to be, what is the number? It's something like that.
Scott.
It's something like that, isn't it, Scott?
It's relatively close, depending on what we receive for notification, if we have any steps in the process, and not to make excuses, property would have been here before the holidays, but in lieu of some of the holidays and notification periods, it's been delayed some.
So we have streamlined this to the ability that we can with state rules, and we would encourage those residents that have other properties that they feel are, because they hurt the neighborhood because people sneak in there and do drug deals, and there's vagrants, that lots of bad things can happen in a property like this. Aside from just safety, a lot of physical things can happen. So we'd encourage that, but we have got it trimmed down to the least amount of time to stabilize a house.
Is that, you said, what's the timeline again? Exact time?
I'd be happy to visit with him.
If you don't mind, after the meeting, Mr. McDonald will give you the schedule for it.
Okay.
If you have other properties that we need to look into. Now, there has to be, obviously, you can see the condition of this, has to be things like that. We have to be able to substantiate it, but he will give you and we'd love to have you out there helping us find these.
All right, thank
It's
you.
important to us. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else from the neighborhood that would like to comment? And the building official, you have nothing else, correct?
Yes, sir, thank
The city commission, do you have any other comments or questions? Okay, then the hearing in this evidence is now closed. The commissioners, we must now publicly deliberate our decision. We must weigh the following factors: the validity of the allegation or the alleged violations, the severity of any such violations, and any corresponding danger to the public. Also, take due regard of private property rights for the owner, fair opportunity for the legally interested parties to have been notified of the problems, and for an opportunity to repair, remediate, or remove the dangerous structure or accumulation of excess vegetation, junk, and debris. We may also weigh the private property interest of any neighbor who may be affected by any further delay or deterioration of the subject property. Finally, we may consider any of the relevant factors that is unique to the circumstances of this case. And so, do we have any deliberation that we would like to make now publicly? And we will, in this process, we have been given some options. We really would want to choose one of these options, and there may be a case where we want to choose two of these options, but we will be moving towards those options that were outlined here to us.
And Mayor, might say that the source of those options is your ordinance on listed properties. Those are all per the ordinance.
Okay. And those follow what's allowed by state law, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything? Okay, do we seem to have no discussion. Do we have any determination on which of these we would pick?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move that the commission find that the property at 304 North Prospect does indeed constitute a public nuisance and has not been timely abated. And furthermore, that we issue the following orders, and I'm going to read from item number 2. The commission finds the structure or any other improvement of any kind or any part thereof is dangerous and ordering its removal 10 days after notice of decision. And also, under the very last of the page under trash and weeds, that the interested person of the lot, tract, or parcel of land with accumulation of rubbish, trash, solid waste, and/or unsanitary matter described in the notice of violation are hereby ordered to remove the same from the premises within 10 days from this order.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion as read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. This matter is now concluded. The city manager is directed to take all steps necessary to inform the interested parties of the outcome of this hearing, their appeal rights, and to implement this resolution. That concludes the 304 Prospect, and we'll move on. We'll now conduct a hearing to determine if certain properties constitutes a nuisance by virtue of dangerous structure, accumulation of trash, weeds, and junk, and some other combination of these. Pursuant to city ordinance, the mayor may make a determination as to the procedural and evidentiary questions. I now call the case involving 1712 North Hughes Street, James W. Turner, substandard structure. All persons who may desire to speak or give evidence on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. This would be anyone that would want to speak to this. Do you each solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And Ms. McDonald, would you come forward and present this case?
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Property located at 1712 North Hughes Street is a wood frame construction on pier and beam foundation with an external storm shelter. The current conditions of this property is that it's been abandoned for over 4 years. It is open and unsecured. As seen in the following images, the property is not maintained and is an attractive nuisance. There's been no attempt to secure the structure. Vandals and vagrants continue to enter to vandalize. The roof covering is deteriorated to include some portions are missing entirely. The plumbing, electrical, heating, and air conditioning systems are deficient. The underground storm shelter presents a fall hazard. There's been no attempt by the owner to repair or abate the hazards presented. This property is not only a nuisance for the community, it presents multiple hazards for the neighbors, it creates an unsafe environment, and is dangerous. Demolition is recommended. The beginning date for this file was May of 2012. The notification information is as follows. The initial notice for a dangerous structure was sent via certified mail to the estate of James W. Turner on August 22nd of 2012, and it was returned on October 3rd, 2012. City Financial, Inc., care of D. Boxberger, trustee, on August 22nd, 2012, returned on August 30th, 2012. Additional interested parties were notified. Courtney Richey Turner, mailed on October 9th of 2012, was delivered on October 13th, 2012. Tara Demick Turner, sent on October the 9th, 2012, delivered October 13th, 2012. Notification sent certified mail for public hearing was sent to the estate of James W. Turner on December the 5th, 2012, returned January 7th, 2012. City Financial, Inc., December the 5th, 2012, returned December 14th, 2012. Courtney Richey Turner, mailed on December the 5th, 2012, delivered December 8th, 2012. Tara Demick Turner, on December the 5th, 2012, delivered December the 8th, 2012. We also posted notice of condemnation hearing on a placard on site on December the 5th of 2012. The permit status on this property is as follows. Building Safety has not received an application for a provisional permit, no contact inquiring or attempting to renovate the structure, and Building Safety has no recent permit activity on this property. The current taxes for 2012 are $79.74. Delinquent taxes in the amount of $1,688.06 for the years of 2008 through 2011. There's been no water service to this property since March the 4th of 2008. Over the past 2 years, this property has been maintained by a city contractor. June 20th of 2012, mowing, trash removal. June 9th of 2011, mowing and trash removal. There's currently $4,565.05 owed to the city against this property, which includes a demolition of a rear residential structure in September of 2009. This file is the business record that we created and maintained in the ordinary course of business in the Department of Building Safety. The contents were made by or at the direction of a person with personal knowledge thereof at or about the time of the events or conditions reflected therein. The photographs in the file accurately portray what they represent. I tender it to you as evidence in this matter and for the purposes of this hearing. However, because this is the original and active file, I request to substitute the electronic version of this file. Such electronic copy is an exact duplicate of the original file that has been secured on the city's IT network under Hummingbird number 2026951.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. The original file is admitted to the record of this hearing, and substitution of the electronic record is allowed for all other purposes, including appeals. And this is available for the commissioners to examine and ask questions. Do any of the commissioners at this point have any questions of Mr. McDonald? We'll now hear from persons with a legal interest in the property who were sent notices for this hearing. If such person now fail, refuse, or neglect to appear, they are deemed to have admitted liability and the defects and violation as stated in the initial notice. Is there any owner, occupant, or lien holder of this property present who wants to present pertinent information or to question the building official? Is there anyone present? Okay. Is there any neighbor or anyone else who desires to speak about this property? Sir, please come forward. Again, we ask you to give your name and address and your name and address.
Timothy Gasaway, 1604 Northwest 20th, Apartment B, Amarillo, Texas 79107. I would like to applaud Mr. McDonald for the work he's done, because I know I've contacted people or tried to contact people on this property. But I have one question, and that is, I know you said you had a couple of different options of what you could do. Now, these structures that we've seen today probably can't be rehabbed at this point. But I was really wanting to know what were the other options, because there are more properties in the North Heights area that will meet the same criteria. But we just really wanted to know what the other options are.
Absolutely. That's part of the ordinance, Mr. Gaston. I'd ask Mr. McDonald to give you a copy of that afterwards. We were given a list of 4 items plus the one for weed and debris that we could add to it, pick one of these and add to it, which then supports the ordinance that we passed. So he'll be happy to give you that. We would love to have the neighborhood get involved in this so we can get these resolved. Sure. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. Anyone else from the neighborhood would like to comment? Okay, is there any other questions from the building official? Any questions by the commissioners or by anyone for the building official? Okay. The hearing on this evidence is now closed. Commissioners, we must now publicly deliberate our decision. We must weigh the following factors: the validity of the alleged violations, the severity of such violations, and any corresponding danger to the public. Also, take due regard for private property rights for the owner, fair opportunity for the legally interested persons to have been notified of the problems, and the opportunity for repair, remediation, or removal of dangerous structure, or the accumulation of excessive vegetation, junk, and debris. We may also weigh the private property interests of any neighbors who have been affected by any further delay or deterioration of the subject property. Finally, we may consider any other relevant factors that is unique to this circumstance of this case. And we now need to deliberate that as we did the other one. And again, we have our list of choices that we can make as we deliberate. Are there any deliberation that's needed by any of the commission? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that this commission now find that a public nuisance exists at 1712 North Hughes and has not been timely abated, and now issues the following order, item I, under our options: finding that the structure or any other improvement of any kind or any part thereof is dangerous, and ordering its removal 10 days after notice of decision. And that furthermore, that the interested, in regards to the trash, weeds, other problems there, that the interested persons of the lot, tract, or parcel of land with accumulation of rubbish, trash, solid waste, and/or unsanitary matter described in the notice of violation are hereby ordered to remove the same from the premises within 10 days from this order.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the item number 5 property as 1712 North Hughes. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. This matter is now concluded. The city manager is directed to take all steps necessary to inform interested parties of the outcome of this hearing, their appeal rights, and to implement such resolution. Thank you all. The consent agenda. It's recommended that the following items be approved and that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. A, the purchase of liquid ferrous chloride. B, the purchase of computer hardware. C, the approval of tax abatement agreement for Bell Helicopter Textron Inc. D, the approval amendment to automated red light program service contract and right-of-way use contract. Removal, and E, the dedication and acceptances. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by a commissioner?
Yeah, Mayor, I would request that we remove item D for separate consideration.
Item D is removed for separate consideration. Do we have a motion about the rest of the items?
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item number D.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion needed on any of the items A through E, excluding D, by the audience or by the commission? Not. We have a motion and a second for approval other than item D. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. And then have the item B, approval amendment of automated red light program service contract and right-of-way contract. Before we go to that, Mr. City Manager, I think it's significant that in that consent agenda we have the item for Bell. And could we reiterate how important that has been to our community and what it's done before we move on to this?
Certainly, Mayor would be glad to, and with your permission, I would also introduce 2 representatives that we have with us today from Bell. It's J.J. Walker and Mr. George Herring. There we go. The item before you is similar to items that have been approved for Bell in the past. I'm very pleased to report that in all cases, Bell has constructed the facilities, has occupied them, and has used them for their intended purposes. Those original abatements, I believe 2 of them have expired, placing the properties back fully upon your tax rolls, which is the purpose of doing so, and I think in all cases have been a success. This is a new move for Bell. I think this is a move into the civilian market. They may be able to speak to that better than I, and I'm just pleased to be able to bring this forward and see the continued growth and the continued spending that Bell makes in our community.
Ms. Walker and Mr. Herring, would you like to make a comment about that at all? You're welcome to. We were out there for a tour, and they were telling us that now we will have over 1.5 million square feet of current aircraft production facilities that didn't exist a decade ago and now are operating at a brisk pace.
Yes, sir.
We thank you for your investment in our community and our future.
Thank you. Mayor and commissioners, my name is George Herring. I'm the manager of facilities and site support out of the plant. And earlier this year, I'm sure most of you know, the Bell Helicopter decided to build a new Relentless 525 helicopter, which is their newest helicopter here at Amarillo plant, which is a big win for Bell Amarillo because it represents a diversified product line that includes both military and commercial, which really makes a big difference for Amarillo, especially in today's financial crisis. Because of that, and to support that, Bell Helicopter decided they were going to have to build a 249,000 square foot building to support that, as well as other military and commercial work. Another part of that decision that is due to, not in small part, to the relationship between the city of Amarillo and Amarillo DC and Bell Helicopter. We really appreciate that as Bell Helicopter. This building that we're building is going to be located on the recently established Tax Reinvestment Zone 8, which we recently established. And
Fine bill request that the city commissioners approve a 10-year, 100% abatement for that property.
Okay, we're proud to have just done that, so we want to thank you for your comments. Anything else you'd like to add?
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate it.
George,
Yes, sir.
come up with more projects. We still have, EDC still has land left, and these kind of deals we love.
Well, I can tell you that Bell Helicopter, even Fort Worth, recognizes that the level of productivity in Amarillo is significant. And because of that and the relationship of the support that we get from the city, there's a lot of attention given towards Amarillo, and we certainly appreciate that.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your commitment. Thanks for being here today. Okay, we would move on to that other item in the consent agenda, item B. Approval of amendment to automated red light program services contract and right-of-way. Discussion about that. Any comments from the audience or from the commission? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve item D on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item D on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes with a 4-1 vote. Public forum. This concludes the agenda for today's meeting of the Amarillo City Commission. It's however customary at this time to allow citizens of this committee with matters not on the agenda pertaining to city policies, programs, or services to speak to the commission and the floor. And after we have those comments, we'll move back to executive session. But for now, the floor is now open for such comments. We'd encourage anyone to come forward. Thank you.
Robert Tolliver, 4400 Southwest 3rd Avenue, Amarillo, Texas. Thank you for giving me the privilege of coming here and speaking to you today. We'd just like to share with you a couple of concerns I have about the policy and procedures of the commission meeting. And sincerely believe that I am due a public apology. On or about December 18th, I was called on the carpet and chastised by you, Mr. Mayor, for my manner of presentation of my concern about the barriers and your assumption that I was speaking to the audience instead of the city council. And I do thank Mr. Eads for laying his hand on your arm when the discussion got a little heated. I have since found out that before Christmas, you called Ellen Green and had her call some very financially and socially influential people with whom I have daily interactions with to try and get them to encourage me to back down and back off. This is the second time that I know of that you have called Ellen to ask her, how do you rein in Bob? That other occasion happened during the summer when I was yelling quite loudly about the golf course and their well water consumption watering dirt. And she called me at home on a Sunday afternoon and said, Bob, I just got a call from the mayor on how to rein you in. Would you please calm down? The city commissioners are coming around. And it's taken a while. But what I object to is what I see as condemnation and calling me down publicly and incorrectly. I also see a breach of ethics here by going behind my back and triangulating instead of addressing me one-on-one by both of you. This has impeded my relationship, unfortunately,
from, I believe, Ellen's standpoint, when earlier we had agreed to disagree. But because I can be either your best friend or a formidable opponent, or some people might even say your worst nightmare, this has been moved from the public to the private. And I'm ashamed of the commissioners involved. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir?
May I address part of these comments? Unfortunately, you were not here. I think it was a week ago. It might have been either the last meeting or 2 meetings back. And your reference to the security precautions that we've taken for our meetings, I made it very clear in my remarks. These are for the audience's protection as well as for ours. And these 2 uniformed police officers are here for a reason. In case you've been on Mars recently, there's been a number of different disturbances, killings, shootings, in all different kinds of places. It's not just been restricted to certain areas. And we're trying to be proactive rather than reactive. And these act as somewhat of a slow-down mechanism. If someone decides to come through those doors and attack us or this audience, these guys will shoot them. And that's to protect the audience as well as us. And certainly if somebody comes down that aisle running with a gun in their hand and wants to jump over these ropes, that's at their own discretion and hazard. And we didn't do this to separate the audience from us. We're still here, you're still there. And we listen to people. And we welcome input. We may not agree, but we welcome it. But now when somebody gets out of line, we're going to draw a line. And part of this is to have a point of demarcation, if you will, and it's to protect us all. I assure you that.
May I respond?
Sure.
It was very interesting to note on 2 different occasions that Mr. McDonald, without invitation of the chair, reached, removed the cord, approached the city council, and handed over papers. Why is he granted preferential treatment over us?
He was invited, sir, as part of the process. You may not have been paying attention, but he was.
Was he?
Thank you. Thanks for that question, but he is acting in official capacity, and when you tried to breach that and threatened to come through the barrier, and you turned to the audience speaking, I assumed you were speaking to the audience, not us. Oh, well, I'm sorry, but when you're approaching me, I would assume that you would face us. Do not wait for an apology from me. The last time I elicited an apology from you was when you went way beyond what a man of the cloth should do, and you gave me a 5-page apology. You issued it to the Globe News and to others on your very brash and very horrendous application of language towards people. So do not look for anything, and don't make the assumption that what you said is true to me. So thank you. You're done for today. I think you're done.
I do want to say one thing.
I guess I'm a little more humble.
I do want to say one thing. When we had that conversation last summer by phone, you live, 8 houses from me. We worked together in the community garden. And I called you. I don't remember saying that the mayor asked me to call you then, because he did not. I called you because we have worked together for 2 years. And I was saying, come on, Bob, can we talk about this? Can we talk this out? Can we, because I know you're upset with the city commission. And that was that conversation. And that's when I might have said, I think I said to you, you catch more flies with honey, And then I also said during that conversation, we need to continue to work in the community garden because it's an important thing to feed people that don't have enough food. And so we're going to have to agree to disagree on this. I don't remember bringing up the mayor unless I said that, I might not be the only one that agrees that is thinking about this. The reason that the last phone conversation happened was because I personally was worried that you're going to walk through that, and I don't want these police officers to have to take any action unnecessarily. And so when you approached that, I was like, oh, please don't do that. And so that's what I was worried about.
it is, because I occasionally do live on Mars, Mr. Sims, or in a cave, is there, I mean, there's not a sign posted here, and I know there were some analogies given about the airport and things of that nature. Has there been a sign published anywhere that says, do not cross?
Sir, it's common sense. And my dad told me when I was a young kid, he said, you know, if you don't have some common sense or sense, you're going to have a tough old life in this world. Mm-hmm. And I think that applies in this case. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else would like to make a comment, please come forward.
Afternoon, David Cossey, 1014 Cimarron Canyon. I actually had no plans of speaking except for when Sims addressed that this is protecting the public and also the commission. And I'm not questioning that. The question would be, are you going to extend it around the corner so that outside people can also acknowledge that assumption? Because as you just said, there's an assumption you don't cross the barrier, and I would agree. But to protect the public, for the police officer's decision, wouldn't it make sense to have controlled access from the public entry also, instead of just to the commission? Because you are making a significant distinction between the two by not extending it around the corner.
Well, not so much to debate it with you, but
May I answer from what the chair supposed? The police gave us advice. They gave our administrative section advice, our city manager. We followed instructions, they followed instructions given by professionals that study these things. And I would suggest that you might go talk to the police and make your suggestion and see. We simply followed a suggestion that our city manager said, are you comfortable doing this, after he was given specific advice by trained professional people in this regard. Do I know how to protect you or this place more than the policeman? I'd suggest not. Do I know that there are problems around our country? I'd suggest yes, as sadly we all know. And yet we were chastised for this very blatantly by the Reverend and by another lady in the back, that this was just obscure and that they needed protection from us. Let's not be silly. Let's apply some common sense. It gets us through a lot of things in this whole life. Let's just let some common sense be applied. If you have some proposal you'd like to do to the police, we're taking our advice from them. They study this, and I think that's a wise way to look at it. Thank you.
Sure. The last question that I had has to do with the cell phone ordinance, because the media contacted me about it. Would one of you please define, under state statute or city statute, official capacity?
Well, I think one of the things that didn't come out last week was that, and I will try and define that, but I'll ask our city attorney or city manager to add to this. One of the things we want to be sure people understand is that in the cases where official capacity allows for the use of a cell phone, it's an emergency or an important issue. Our city people have been told, don't use this indiscriminately. And we want to be sure that the public knows that everyone in this room, everyone in this city, every passenger that passes through this town in a car driving has the ability to use their cell phone hands-on in any emergency that's perceived. And there are very definite latitude given in the law for that. And so we don't want anybody to miss the point that if you're a citizen out here, and let's just say that you're traveling with your wife to the hospital to deliver a baby, and for some reason your cell phone doesn't work on Bluetooth or whatever, pick up your phone and call. Let's say that we had a horrible tragedy like happened in Connecticut. I want our responders to have the best information, and if their radio goes out or if something, they're going to use their cell phone or whatever means to get the best information when they go to protect your kid. Well, you live in Canyon. If you lived here, the kids would be here in school and they would be able to be protected more by that. So we have very specific guidelines in there that allow for people to use their cell phones when they're needed. Now, official capacity, gee, what would you say official capacity is?
Well, based on your definition, you mentioned that he was under official capacity when he crossed through the barrier. So I was assuming that it's at all times when you're under the city guides.
I think
the
again,
state
common
actually
sense and more
defines-
sense, I think common sense and more sense gets us through a lot of these questions.
Right, but the law doesn't, and that's the question, because if I receive a citation, I'm not gonna have the ability to just use common sense. I have to use the law also, and we can all agree that not every law is based on common sense. That's my question, is official capacity for the mayor, for example, under state statute, is it pretty much 24 hours a day? If you look at the
Well,
state
no,
law.
it's not. No, it's absolutely not. For instance, if I said my official capacity was to call my wife and get a list of eggs and bread, I would be in violation because I'd be lying.
That's, I'm saying.
I would be lying. Would you agree I'd be lying? I'd be taking advantage of something? And I've had, again, another call from somebody that said that the people that are getting this petition signed are saying that we excluded ourselves in some way from this law.
Well, I
We
think
did
a lot of
not
it-
exclude ourselves, and I want anybody in official capacity to use their phone in any way they do to respond and do their job correctly and professionally and to a degree. And I think most people in this city would agree with that. Mr. North, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Official capacity is a legal term of art. It's well defined within the statutes, or not the statutes, but the case law of the state. A paraphrased definition of that, we can look at the court sites, but it is someone acting not for their own personal affairs, but arising out of and related to a scope of governmental duty. And so the mayor's exactly correct. If he's talking about bread and eggs, that's not part of his governmental duty as mayor. If he's talking about where we need barricades for high water, or is the city manager at the EOC yet, that's official capacity. That's the mayor doing his duty under the State Disaster Declaration Act. So it's a term of art. It won't be a problem when you go to court on understanding what official capacity is. It's a well-defined term of art in law.
Sure, I was just making sure there was clarity between everybody and the public.
So
Because
that clarified. Thank you.
Sure, that's it, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to comment today? Sir, if you weren't here, we gave instructions. Come on up, and if you give your name and your address, and we'd like to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Okay. My name is David Waldrop. I live at 5014 South Fannin. And I want to talk about the cell phone ordinance. And Paul, you and I have known each other for, I guess, 30 years.
Certainly have.
I don't know if I want to date myself quite that far back, but I'm in the car business. And so I was with the customers, the reason I was late getting here. Okay?
That's fine. You're not late.
And I want to use some of the information that you gave me yesterday, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
I wrote not an article, but a letter to the editor that was published yesterday. And basically directed it at Paul. And I really do believe that what I wrote in there, that Paul's a fine man, and that we have a fine mayor and we have a fine city commission. Now, I challenged Paul yesterday in his office and in the letter on some things that I think are wrong with the law. I think that I want to make a statement regarding the police. For the most part, I think for the very most part, I think we have fine police officers in this town. I think for the most part, we have fine preachers in this town. I think for the most part, we have fine doctors in this town. But however, just like there are bad car salesmen in this town, there's bad doctors, there's bad politicians in this town, there's bad whatever in this town. And there's bad policemen in this town also that will abuse their privileges. And I'll point to some examples that I told Paul yesterday. On Friday afternoon, I was driving around Amarillo just for about an hour. And I saw 3 police officers talking on their cell phones. And 2 of them were just yucky. I mean, they were laughing and cutting up while they were talking on their cell phones. Now, I don't know if they were talking to their supervisors or not. I didn't get their car numbers. But I have a hard time believing they were on official capacity. Whether they were talking to their supervisors or not, I have a hard time believing that was official capacity. Now, the third officer that I saw was a young woman. And I'm going over my time. I hope that's all right.
No, it isn't, sir. We've got about 11 seconds left, but we
Okay.
certainly could ask you to meet with us again, and I'm going to, go ahead.
But the third officer that I saw was obviously talking about something, whether she was getting grocery list or whatever, but she was driving down the road, and she was next to me. And it appears she was talking on the phone and taking notes on her leg and driving with her other leg. Okay? Because she very nearly hit me.
David, the time is about 3.5 minutes now, and let me ask you to do something if you could. As we discussed yesterday, the citizen in this town has, with a petition process, that's part of the process if you don't like something that we're doing. Voting us out of office is something people do. But my point is this, we have a procedure, and we have a procedure in place if you're questioning police officers' job. And that is, Mr. City Manager, would you comment on that? Because we have always been able to deal with these things openly and directly, and we encourage that from the public. If they see, you know, we have a question about official capacity, police, I think, are, just as you said, most of the time going to do things, but what would somebody do if they thought the police were not honoring this?
We encourage you, anytime you see something like that, that you may have a question, I have no way of guessing or trying to impugn intent or otherwise, and wouldn't do so at this point. But when you see that, call the police chief. He's expecting those calls. Call me. Call either of the two assistant city managers. We're expecting that. We know that we have the same standard to be upheld. We know that there will be times that I would very reasonably expect an officer to use a phone, and if a Bluetooth wasn't available at the time, I want them using that phone. That doesn't mean every time it's picked up, though, that that's what's going to be correct. So please contact any of us. My office number is 378-3011 if you want to give me a call.
One last statement that I want to make, and I'm going to change a statement that I made to you yesterday that I will not. I told in the letter that I was going to attempt to get an injunction to stop enforcement of this ordinance, and I told you I would not do that. I have changed my mind, and I am going to attempt to get an injunction to stop enforcement of this ordinance. So if the city is not willing to stop this and the enforcement of this until there's a vote of the people, then I intend to go to court and try to get an injunction to stop enforcement of this, because I believe it's an unconstitutional law.
Are there any comments from the audience? Anyone else? We'll move back to executive session. We thank you for participating.